Seeing, hearing, smelling, and touching like a scientist is a physical science unit incorporating ideas about how scientists use the scientific process, their five senses, and tools to answer questions and solve problems. Let's look into the unit at a glance. This unit covers several kindergarten physical science, earth and space science, and engineering standards about reducing human impacts using physical properties of science and the engineering design cycle. Each of the next generation science standards correspond to a Missouri Learning Standard listed in parentheses on this chart. There is one standard that is a Missouri Learning Standard only. Take a moment to pause the video and review them. In this unit, students try to figure out how we use observations about materials to sort and classify them. The anchoring phenomenon used to connect students to the science content is an image of a blue recycling bin and a black waste bin, two objects students may use daily to separate things based on their physical properties. Students will discuss this phenomenon after they have learned about using their five senses and tools to describe and classify materials. This phenomenon will drive students to the discussion about how we can reduce human impacts on our planet by recycling materials based on their physical properties. The design challenge for this unit is a culminating activity in Lesson 6. Students are tasked with designing an investigation to determine if a rock sinks or floats. They will go through the scientific process to design this investigation. First, they'll ask a question about rocks sinking or floating. Reflect on all that they have learned about rocks in earlier lessons. They will make a hypothesis about whether they think their rock will sink or float. Plan and test if the rock actually sinks or floats. Record their data, and draw a conclusion about their rock investigation. Now that we have an idea about what students will study in this unit, let's take a look at the unit flowchart. This unit is divided into 3 sections, and there are 7 lessons total. In Section 1, students discover what scientists do and think about how they are like scientists. This section will take about 5 instructional days. Here is the content level big idea for Section 1 and how students will figure it out. Students use the scientific process, videos, readings, discussions, and rock samples to figure out that scientists ask questions about the world around them. Students also figure out that they are like scientists when they make observations about the properties of rocks. They will continue to apply this knowledge to the other sections of this unit. In Section 2, students continue to work through the scientific process by exploring how they can use tools along with their 5 senses to learn more about the world around them. This section will take 12 to 14 days. In Section 2, students use readings, videos, and class experiences to practice using their 5 senses. This practice helps students describe properties of materials. Throughout this section, students continue to work through the scientific process, specifically learning all that they can about rocks. Next, students discuss the properties of the materials they observed with their 5 senses and group objects with similar properties together. Students will revisit the properties they observed with their rocks. Students also focus on tools that scientists use to enhance their senses as they explore materials at different stations. Finally, students will complete the scientific process by planning a test about rocks, making a hypothesis about whether or not rocks will float or sink, conduct their investigation, record their data, and develop a conclusion. Section 3 asks students to think like scientists to make a positive change. This section will take about 3 instructional days. In Section 3, students will observe the properties of trash floating in water to engineer a device that helps clean up the water. They use the knowledge they gained from the scientific process and apply it to the engineering design cycle to develop a tool that solves a problem. By the end of this unit, students will have practiced going through the scientific process to learn about the properties of objects and the engineering design process to solve a problem. For more information, visit our website, mySciPartners.com. mySci, inspiring the next generation of scientists.